Hi, I'm Dr. Molly with Your Goals Physical Therapy. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is a wonderful, fun week where we get to meet with our families and enjoy some time off. The weather has come in for us. It's a little chilly. It's kind of nice and crisp outside. Makes it feel like fall, so we can really get into the spirit. And I know that lots of people have different traditions on Thanksgiving, but for my family, we end up meeting to do the turkey trot in Houston. So after the run, people go to their respective homes, we shower, then we meet up at the main house to talk and play games and basically hang out all day and eat. There's typically we start off with some form of finger foods and, whatever, so like vegetables and chips and things to like just snack on for a little bit until the main meal, which always includes at least 2 versions of turkey and, like a fried turkey and a roasted turkey, or most of the time those are what we end up eating. And then a variety of sides. Everybody who brings food brings a different side, so they actually change every year, which is kind of fun to see what people come up with. We end the wonderful fun day with coffee and dessert. And that's how we end up doing it. We break up the meal so that it's not always one person cooking, but that's not really everybody's tradition. For some households, I know it's so amazing to me that one person cooks all the food for the entire family. That to me is just amazing. I can't even imagine how to plan all of that out so that it all comes out on time. I find that to be very impressive, to say the least, when I hear that that's what people do. But one thing that is very evident at the end of that day, again, is that food comas are very real. They're a very real thing. I definitely want to sleep very well at the end of Thanksgiving. And second, that cooking all that food is very labor intensive. And so like I was just saying, it's always impressive to me when one person cooks all that food. Either way, whether you are more of a potluck kind of Thanksgiving feast or a one person creates everything, back pain can ruin the whole day. Cooking is one of those things that if you have back pain, it can start off as like this little nagging, annoying thing, but then as you're standing there and cooking and cleaning and doing what you need to do while you're cooking, cutting up things, just general things that you do while you're cooking, that back pain can go from a nagging to so intense you have to go sit or lay down. And it can be sudden, it can progress over time, so that can be varied for people. Either way, it sucks all the joy out of cooking, right? And this, for many people, that's the thing, is being able to bring the food and care for your family by making food. So if that is you, this video is perfect, because I have 5 tips for you today on how to stop back pain while you're cooking. So if that is what you're interested in, stick with it, and that's what we're going to go over next. The 5 tips for how to stop back pain while you're cooking. First, let's pay attention to our posture. I know that seems weird and everybody talks about standing up straight, but just as a point of reference, if you start off and your ears are over your shoulder and your shoulders are over your hips and your hips are over your knees are over your ankles, that position requires the least amount of work from your body to maintain it. In other words, your muscles have to do very little to keep you upright. Gravity is hitting you on the top of the head, straight down, instead of in any other direction where your body would have to adjust for that. And that is where the crux is, right? As we're cooking, most of the time, we're in some version of this. For some people, it's this, but it's some version of your head in front of your feet. And what that means is that some muscle is having to do a lot of work to hold you up. That work over time makes things achy and cranky, can make things inflamed. If you have joint problems, that can make that worse. It just goes south from there. So if you're having to cook, especially if you're cooking for long periods, as much as you can, think about your posture. Try to get your shoulders back, try to get your head over your shoulders, and try to maintain that as long as you can in as many situations as possible. Second, now this is a piggyback of the first one, but the second is to put your foot on a stool or inside the cabinet. And what I mean by that is as in the first example, or first suggestion, I said to stand up straight. That whole posture this way, actually, if your head is in front of your feet, your body has to do work. One way around that is to keep your foot underneath your head, which means you could take a step forward. But for most of us, if we take a step forward, it's a cabinet or it's like the oven, and you can't actually put your foot there. But if you're kneeling over a cabinet, you could clear out, for many of us we could, it might be inconvenient, but we could clear out a little space in the cabinet below so that you can rest a foot inside, which then means that one foot would be helping you support your whole body instead of your head being just in front of your feet. And so even if you have that little staggered stance where one foot is helping to distribute that weight and take a little bit of that weight off of your back muscles from holding you up, that can make a huge difference. Now, if you don't have a cabinet or it's not really possible to do that, you could use a little 6-inch step. It forces you to kind of turn a little bit, but it does allow you to have a little bit more of a flexed position without putting as much strain on your back. So again, the first thing is ideally you want to be upright, but when that's not possible, trying to put one foot in front of you to help accept the weight of your body with your head, when you're in the posture where your head is in front of your feet. Then ask for help when you have to lift up a heavy pan or a food item that's particularly heavy. Truthfully, some of our pots and pans are heavy empty, right? They can be 5 or 10 pounds just empty, and now you're going to add a 10 or 20 pound turkey to it, and it just makes it very, very heavy. So you're already in that compromised head in front of your feet position because you're pulling something out of the oven. Most of us, our ovens are really low, which means you have to really bend down to get it. That is just a disaster, especially if you already have back pain. So if it is at all possible to ask somebody else to help you, even if you both help carry it, to get it out of the oven and onto a countertop safely, that is a little bit less stress on your back, and that can have a huge impact on how long it is that you can stay in the kitchen and cook. For those times when you are having to cook or chop or cook, stir for a really long time, or cut up vegetables, cut things, or you're just cutting things up that's just going to be there for a while. If you have a high stool, let's say like a bar height stool or whatever would work in your kitchen, because everybody's kitchen is a little bit different, that allows you to sit for a bit while you're doing it. That could be a game changer. For so many people, they're like, I just have to keep going into the kitchen, into the living room and sit for a while and then I can come back. But if you had a little bit of a higher stool so you could be at the counter and chop, the nice thing about a high stool also is that that's going to allow you to have your hips, when you're sitting, to have your hips above your knees, which is a much nicer position for your back than a lot of kitchen chairs where sometimes that ratio can be off where your knees are slightly above your hips, and that just adds extra stress to your back. So a high stool, that is another suggestion, if at all possible, depending on the size of your kitchen. I know some of these things can vary depending on what you have available, but it can make a huge difference. Last, talk to a physical therapist that specializes in back pain. There is so much that can be done to help alleviate back pain. I help people all the time overcome their back pain to get them back to cooking, get them back to all sorts of activities that they love to do that they thought they wouldn't be able to do. Well-meaning physicians often only offer medications or surgery as a solution to back pain. They'll get an x-ray or an MRI, and then they'll say, hey, the reason you're having this problem is because of something they found on that image, whether it be an x-ray or an MRI. That's only part of the story, though. You are not just an x-ray or an MRI. You're a whole person. You have habits, you have movement patterns, you have muscle strengths, muscle weaknesses, tight things, loose things. You have how you move in your environment, what your job is. There's so much more to you than just that one image. And to really get a very comprehensive and specialized, personalized plan for you, seeing somebody who specializes in back pain that will find the exact root cause of your pain and create you a specialized program can be like so invaluable and get you back to the things that you once thought were completely off the table. Back pain is very complicated. Some days people have immense back pain, and then some days they're perfectly fine. So if the only thing that was wrong with you was what was on that image, then you would always have back pain. It would never change because that image doesn't change. You don't go from one day having a herniated disc to the next day not. That doesn't change hourly. So if your pain fluctuates with activities or doing things or not doing things, resting, it just fluctuates, right? Sometimes we don't even know what we're doing, it just changes. Then that image that you took gives some information, but it does not give the whole picture. And that's what I help people with. When they come in and they see me, we look at you from the whole picture. I ask you lots of questions. We do a movement assessment. I physically put my hands on you to find out what tissues are sore, what's tight, what's loose, what's strong, what's weak. And we put that whole picture together, and then we find out what your ultimate goal is. What is it you're trying to get back to? Are you trying to get back to cooking? Are you trying to get back to running? Would you like to go on vacation without back pain? Then we create a specialized program just for you based on all of that information. And that, I think, is absolutely invaluable for people. If you've been suffering with back pain, just to hear that there's absolute hope can be a game changer. One of my recent clients that came for just a 4-month follow-up just to make sure everything's okay, I don't like to lose touch with people, she told me during that, she was like, I thought you were absolutely insane when you told me I wouldn't have pain and that I'd be able to work out the way I want to without low back pain. She's like, I just thought that was crazy, but I was willing to give it a shot. And she's like, and here I am 4 months later, and I'm working out exactly how I wanted to. And she's like, that is absolutely amazing. And so we tweaked whatever we were working on, and she's able to go and continue on by herself. And she's working out the way that she wants. And she doesn't have to worry about pain at work. She doesn't have to worry about pain cooking or taking care of her kids any longer. So if that is the type of care that you're looking for, I will leave a button below this blog, and it'll say cost and availability. And if you click that button, there'll be a quick form for you to fill out. It just sort of gives me a little bit of information about you and time frames to call you back. We'll contact you and set up that appointment based on what works for you. Now, it is perfectly normal to be skeptical. If you've had back pain for years, just like the client that I just told you about, it can be unimaginable that your specific case would be able to be helped. So for that, I save a couple of appointments every week that I call discovery visits. And that is an amazing time for somebody to come in and have a face-to-face conversation. I find out a little bit about your history. In many cases, we do a short movement screening just to confirm that we are a good fit for each other. Because I don't want you to come in for a full evaluation and then not be able to help you. My goal is to truly just to help people get back to everything that they want to do without limitations. And so during that discovery visit, we have that opportunity to ask questions and get to know and make sure that we're the right fit for you going forward. So here we are at the end of my 5 tips, right? So as a review, you want to make sure that you're upright as much as you can be. I know that while you're cutting and chopping, you're going to want to lean forward, but as much as you can set that up so you can be upright, that's perfect. Second, when that's not possible, try to get your foot to be in front of you so that your foot is still underneath your head. So whether that's putting your foot in a cabinet or on a stool, that will help take off some of that weight. And so a little bit of the stress. Then third, I want you to ask for help when you have to lift something that's super heavy or even just mildly heavy. Let's just get real. If you have back pain, have as much help lifting things as you can possibly do. And then fourth, you want to try to have a stool so that if you have to just stir for a long period of time or there's going to be a lot of chopping, that you have something that you can sit and rest on. And then fifth, if even some of those things just mildly work or they don't work at all, the fastest way to get rid of that pain and get back to fully enjoying your cooking and not having to worry about it for the next event is to talk to somebody who specializes in back pain. So I hope that these tips help you. And if you liked it, please hit like. It just helps more people see it. But if you know somebody specifically that would benefit from it, please share this video. I hope that you guys have a great holiday weekend. Until I talk to you again, bye.